Now we'll talk about naming covalent compounds. Covalent compounds are super easy compared to ionic. First of all, there's only one category, so we don't have to learn all these different nuances. Second, it's just really straightforward, very easy. The only thing that you need to keep in mind is that it's not ionic, so the things that we learned in ionic are going to be very different. So here I made a little chart for you. Ionic, remember, is a metal and a nonmetal. So that's the first thing you need to look for. Are we naming something that's ionic? Or is it two or more nonmetals and we're naming something that is covalent? We're going to stick to binary covalent, by the way, so just two nonmetals. In ionic, we've been using the crisscross method forever and ever. In covalent, you do not crisscross. There is no crisscrossing. We have never used prefixes in ionic naming. We are going to use them in covalent. We have been reducing or simplifying, but you do not do that in covalent. So that's something you need to get used to. Okay, so as you're going through, just keep this in mind. Here are the prefixes. You do not need to memorize them. I will give them to you. So here are the prefixes that we will be using. And you will notice that these are very similar to your notes or your rules for naming ionic compounds. You're going to write the symbol for each element, but instead of charges, you're just going to write subscripts based on the prefix. You do not crisscross, and then this one is kind of new. If there is no prefix, the subscript is a 1, which you also don't write. So if you don't have a prefix, then you don't write a number. So let's see. You look at this first word and you find the element in it. Tetrasulfur. The element is sulfur. So you write the symbol for sulfur. Then you find the prefix. The prefix is tetra. So our subscript on sulfur is going to be 4. You look at the second word. Find the element in that. Tetranitride. The element must be nitrogen. We already know tetra is 4. We just did that. That's your answer. You do not simplify. That is it. That is the whole answer. Move on to sulfur trioxide. In our first word, the element's obvious because it's just sulfur. Remember, if you don't have a prefix, then the subscript is 1, but we're still not writing ones. Trioxide, the element is oxygen in that word. And then if you go up here, your prefix is tri, so our subscript is 3. That's it. No crisscross, no simplifying. So go ahead and try these and then come back for the answers. There you go. Honestly, just make sure you're not crisscrossing and you should be good to go. Meaning that don't put like the di, the 2 on oxygen, and the tri, the 3 on selenium. Keep the prefix with the element. Covalent compounds formula to name. You write the name of the first element, you write the name of the second element with IDE. That should be very familiar. Then you put the appropriate prefix in front of the name of the element. So you look at the subscript, look up what the prefix is, and write it down. You do not put mono in front of the first word, but if it's the second word, you do. That's the only trick here. Okay, so if your subscript is 1, which just means it's blank, if it's the first word, don't put mono, but if it's the second word, do put mono. So I'll give that an example of that with this first one. So this first one, we have nitrogen, and then oxide, Our subscripts are both 1, so the prefix on 1 is mono. You do not write mono for the first word, but you do write it for the second. Also, when we're doing prefixes, we usually get, if there's 2 vowels in a row, we usually get rid of the first one. So like, instead of monoxide, it will just be monoxide. So then here we have nitrogen, fluoride. 2 on your prefix chart is di. 4 is tetra. So you have dinitrogen tetrafluoride. That's it. Go ahead and try these 2 and come back for the answers. Silicon tetrafluoride, diphosphorus pentoxide. Again, penta, we usually get rid of the first vowel if there's 2 in a row. And that's it for covalent. Nice and easy.